Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. Today's video is my Halloween book recommendations video. This was really hard to narrow down. There were so many books I wanted to throw at you guys, like you need to read this, you need to read this, but I managed to narrow it down to some of my ultimate favourite Halloween appropriate books to recommend to you guys. May or may not do a part 2 next year with some of the ones that I have scrapped. If that's something you'd be interested in seeing, then let me know. In this recommendations video there is a mix of creepy and kind of Halloweeny vibes, but not overly scary, so there should be something for everyone. You guys know I'm a bit of a pansy, I don't even like horror films, so if it's truly terrifying, it is not going to be in this recommendations video. First up is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. This is one of my favourite books. It is one of my favourite series. Hunting Prince Dracula is the sequel. Escaping from Houdini has just come out, so if you guys literally want to binge some brilliant historical mysteries with some nice doses of creepiness, you need to pick up all three, but you do need to read this one first. Our main character Audrey Rose lives a life of wealth and privilege as a lord's daughter, but she leads a secret forbidden life against her father's wishes and society's expectations. She slips away to her uncle's lab to study the gruesome practice of forensic medicine, but Audrey Rose is soon dragged into the investigation of a brutal serial murderer, Jack the Ripper, and her search for an answer brings her close to her own sheltered world. This book is absolutely freaking amazing. The writing is so rich. There is an insane amount of historical detail. You read the book and you are immediately pulled into the world. I loved Audrey Rose as a main character. I rooted for her. She is not like the ladies of her time. There is also a brilliant little romance thread with Thomas. I really enjoyed seeing all of the forensic science, particularly in this historical context. This is suitably creepy for Halloween. It sent a shiver up my spine more than once, and I am just in love with this series. Next up is The Diviners by Libba Bray. This is another one of my favourite books ever. The Diviners is set in 1926 and our main character Evie O'Neill has a secret. She can touch any object and kind of see where it's been and see the person's memories. After an incident involving her power, she is exiled from her boring hometown to live with her uncle in New York at his Museum of the Occult. However, not long after Evie arrives in New York, police find a murdered girl branded with a cryptic symbol and her uncle is called in to help with the investigation. Evie swiftly realises that the power she is determined to hide could help catch a serial killer. Honestly, I read the first book and I completely fell in love with it. Unfortunately, it does take a while for each other book to come out. The sequel, Lair of Dreams, is out. Then we have Before the Devil Breaks You. I am waiting for book 4, but I am so in love with this series. It is completely brilliant. It is very richly written. There is an insane amount of historical detail. I feel like this book and the concept for it could not work in modern day. I feel like it really suits the time period that it's set in, and I love the different powers they have, and I love how it kind of starts out in The Diviners as a kind of murder mystery catching a serial killer, and then we kind of develop more as we find out more about the characters and more about their powers, and then the shady organisation is brought in and what happened to Evie's brother, and it just builds up more and more plot wise and more is brought in and we're heading in such an interesting direction. I just need book 4 now, but who knows when that's out. Each book gets creepier and creepier and each book is creepy on a different level. This one is creepy in the sense that, you know, there is a really creepy serial killer lurking about. Lair of Dreams is creepy in the sense that it all kind of happens while they're dreaming and you might go to sleep and not wake up. And Before the Devil Breaks You is just creepy in the traditional creepy sense with the ghosts and whatnot. Next up is The Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman. This again is another one of my favourites. It is a trilogy. The final book in the trilogy is out this year. And again, it is another historical one. It would appear a lot of these happen to be historical ones. The Dark Days Club is set in London in 1812 and our main character is Lady Helen. On the eve of Lady Helen's presentation to the Queen, one of her housemaids goes missing and Helen is swiftly drawn into the shadows of Regency London. There she meets Lord Carlston, who is one of the few who can stop the perpetrators, who just so happen to be a cabal of demons infiltrating every level of society. It turns out Lady Helen has the same powers as him, but it is not as easy to master them and help the others when you are a lady with certain restrictions. And you know, Carlston's super shady reputation doesn't exactly help matters. This is another one that is brilliantly written. It is very richly written. There is an incredible amount of historical detail which I find fascinating, but it is not shoved down your throat. It is woven in along with the plot and the narrative. For a lady of her time, Helen is pretty badass and I am rooting for her 100%, but I also get frustrated reading it when they're like, you can't do that because you're a lady, and I'm like, back off, bitch. I really love the supernatural elements in this book, the twist on the demons and the powers to fight them, and it definitely hooked me and kept me reading and reading and reading, and I am desperate for the third book to see how it ends. But I have been thoroughly fascinated by all the details thrown in, the secrets from the past coming out, how the powers work. This one isn't very creepy, but it is definitely Halloween appropriate. Next up is Jacoby by William Ritter. We follow Abigail Rook. She arrives in New Fiddleham, which is in New England, in 1892, and she is desperately in need of a new job. Luckily, she meets Jacoby, an investigator of the unexplained with a keen eye for the extraordinary. He also just so happens to have the ability to see supernatural beings. Abigail herself also has a gift, hers being to notice the ordinary but important details. This all makes her the perfect fit for the position of Jacoby's assistant. Her first day on the job finds her in the midst of a case involving a serial killer. The police are convinced it's an ordinary villain. Jacoby, not so much. He reckons it is a non-human creature. This one isn't quite as creepy as the others on the list. It is also a more easier read than the others. There's a nice amount of historical detail and I enjoyed the writing, but it is a nice dose of supernatural and lightly creepy with some fun characters and some fun cases to be solved. Next up is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I can best describe this to you guys as YA Criminal Minds. Our main character, Cass, is a natural at reading people. She can piece together the tiniest details to tell you who you are and what you want. She is basically completely a profiler. She doesn't take her skills seriously until the FBI come knocking. They have started a classified program that uses exceptional teenagers to crack famous cold cases, and they want Cassie. So Cassie joins the Naturals program along with a bunch of other teenagers with similar gifts, one of whom is Sarcasm Master Michael, who can read emotions, and Dean, who shares Cassie's gift for profiling. When a new serial killer strikes, danger looms, and the Naturals are caught in a cat and mouse game with a serial killer. This is a really brilliant series. It really kept me on my toes with the twists. It has kind of creepy elements, but it's not overly scary. I had a lot of fun trying to put things together and trying to solve it on my own, but ending up being wrong anyway, and this series is so easy to binge read. Next up is The Name of the Star by Maureen Johnson. Louisiana teen Rory arrives in London to start a new life at boarding school just as a spree of serial killings eerily mimicking Jack the Ripper break out across the city. The police have few leads and no witnesses, except for one. Rory happens to have seen the man believed to be the prime suspect. The problem is, she is the only one who saw him. Now Rory has become the next target unless she can tap her previously unknown abilities to turn the tables. This one is really quite creepy. The other books kind of vary in creepiness. I am waiting for the next book. I feel like I've been waiting for forever, but I'll let Maureen off because Truly Devious is really good. But I'm still waiting for the next Shades of London book. This one features ghosts, a brilliant twist on ghosts, and some absolutely brilliant characters. The storytelling is really well done. It pulls you in, it hooks you into the mystery. Each book in this series gets better and better, but we are still waiting for the next book. Still waiting. I would also recommend you guys Maureen's other book, Truly Devious, if you are in the mood for a kind of old school Poirot kind of murder mystery cold case with a steady pace. Next up is Born at Midnight by C.C. Hunter. Our main character Kylie is shipped off to Shadow Falls, a camp for troubled teens, after an incident at a party. But within hours of her arriving, it becomes clear to her that her fellow campers aren't just troubled teens. They are supernatural. We're talking vampires, werewolves, shifters, witches, and fairies, among other things. They train side by side so they can harness their powers and control their magic so they can live in the human world like a normal person. They insist that Kylie is one of them, but she begs to differ. Honestly, this is such a cracking series, and I binge read the entirety of this particular series. These ones are really creepy. Like, I personally, they're not creepy all the time, but they have some really creepy moments, and I was reading them at night no, I should have read this in the daylight with the light on because this was a bad idea. There are various different supernatural creatures, there are some brilliant friendships, there is a nice little romance, yes, there is a bit of a cliche love triangle, but ignore that because there are some brilliant supernatural creatures thrown in, and there are cases to be solved. There are ghosts dropping clues. This is one of those series that I basically never see anyone talking about, and I'm like, can more people read it please, because it is actually really, really good. Next up is Alice in Zombieland by Gina Showalter. Our main character Alice has always lived a strange life because her father can see monsters that no one else can see. We're talking crazy curfew, not allowed out the house after dark, insane rules, some weird, crazy self-protection measures that have to be taken. But after a tragic accident that changes the entire course of her life, it turns out her father was right. The monsters are in fact real, and in order to avenge her family, Alice must learn to fight the undead. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this series does have the capacity to be a little bit cliche, a little bit cheesy, but I feel like it's thrown in with some other brilliant elements, so you can kind of look past that, and honestly, who doesn't like that in moderation? This series is a really awesome twist on zombies and on Alice in Wonderland in general. I completely love it. It's one of the series that I feel is really underrated. Plus, you know, there aren't many zombie books out there anyway, and this is seriously, you guys, so brilliantly done. If you are after more zombie books, I would possibly point you in the direction of Gone with the Respiration by Leah Habel. That one is dystopian zombies. Next up is Something Strange and Deadly by Susan Dennard. You may have read and loved Truthwitch, but have you read Susan's previous trilogy? If you haven't, you need to check it out this Halloween because it is brilliant. Eleanor Fitz's brother has gone missing, her family has fallen on hard times, and her mother is determined to marry her off to any eligible rich guy that just happens to walk on by. But all of that has nothing on the latest headline in the paper, that being that the dead are rising in Philadelphia. In a frightening attack, a zombie delivers a letter to Eleanor from her brother. Whoever is controlling this undead army has taken him as well. If she's going to find her brother, she is going to have to venture to the lab of the notorious spirit hunters who basically protect the city from supernatural forces. Yes, the ending did upset me, and I kind of wish it could have had a happier ending, but it is a really good trilogy. It's really nice paced. It is perfect for Halloween. It is a really nice zombie twist. Eleanor is such a great MC, and I really loved how the supernatural wove with the historical. If you really did enjoy Susan's writing in Truthwitch, I really do think you guys should check this out. This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. You guys knew I would squeeze a V.E. Schwab book in here somewhere. You knew it. Our main characters, Kate Harker and August Flynn, are heirs to a divided city where violence has started to breed monsters. Kate wants to be as ruthless as her father, who lets the monsters run free and forces the humans to pay for his protection. August just wants to be human. He is one of the monsters, and he can steal a soul with a simple strain of music. When the chance arrives to keep an eye on Kate, who has been kicked out of her 6th boarding school and sent home, August jumps at it. But unfortunately for August, Kate discovers his secret, and after a failed assassination attempt, the pair of them have to flee for their lives. This one has monsters! Yay! Really interesting, brilliantly twisted and original monsters! It has 2 completely brilliant main characters. As usual, the writing is on point. Next up is Unbreakable by Cami Garcia. When our main character Kennedy finds her mum dead, her world starts to unravel. She is unaware that paranormal forces are pulling the strings until twin brothers Jed and Lucas break into her room and, you know, destroy a dangerous spirit sent to kill her. They reveal that her mum was part of an ancient secret society responsible for protecting the world from a vengeful demon, and they were all murdered on the same night. Kennedy then takes her mother's place in the Legion in order to uncover the truth and to stay alive. They race to find the only weapon that may be able to destroy the demon. I really feel like this is a 100% underrated series. I don't know anyone else who's read it. I never see anyone talking about it, but it is so completely freaking brilliant, and I am praying that we eventually get a 3rd book because honestly I am in love with this series. There's a brilliant cast of characters, I love how it's been done, the writing is really good, and I love how really creepy it is at points. And I would also recommend you guys Demon Trappers by Joanna Oliver, because I read both series kind of one after the other and I kind of associate them together a little bit, even though they're completely different. Last up is A Breath of Frost by Alexandra Harvey. It's 1814 and cousins Penelope, Gretchen and Emma discover their family's lineage of witchcraft when a binding spell is broken. This allows their individual magic powers to start to manifest. And because of this, an alluring underworld to Regency London is revealed to them. But by claiming their powers, they just casually, you know, accidentally open the gates to the underworld. I mean, to be fair to them, it was an accident, but it's kind of a not good thing. Because, you know, now ghouls, hellhounds, and most terrifying of all, a trio of dark witches known as the Greymalkin Sisters are hunting and killing young debutante witches for their powers. And somehow Emma is connected to the murders because she keeps finding the bodies. I thought I would whack in a lighter rec. I do really love Alexandra's books. I read the Drake Chronicles forever ago, which is a vampire series if you want to check it out for Halloween. Each book focuses on a different cousin. This one is Emma. You do need to read them in order, but there is cute romance in there. There are some brilliant magical elements, and I love the mix of the magic and the witches and this particular time period, the supernatural and the historical mixed together really nicely, along with the romance, of course. You guys should also check out Alexandra's standalone book, Haunting Violet, because that is another brilliant Halloween appropriate read. I hope you guys enjoyed my Halloween book recommendations video. I hope you found something that you want to read or something you've not come across before. I really, really do love each and every one of these books. They are ones that I reread. They are ones that I read and completely loved the first time, and I would literally promote them to my dying breath. Let me know down below which one of these you guys want to read, or if you have read them, let me know your thoughts. If you've read any of the ones that I consider to be underrated, you need to let me know so we can fangirl about them together, because I genuinely feel at times like I am the only person that has read them. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for similar content, and I'll see you guys next video.